No one really teaches you about how to handle grief or what to expect when grief comes your way, because it's always a topic that no one really wants to talk about at the end of the day. So today on my channel, I'll be going through how to deal with grief. Not that I have figured it out, but just from my experience, how it has been, how I've dealt with it, and what I've learned along the way, because I have had to kind of go through everything, learning slowly, trying to understand what is grief. How do you handle grief? How do you deal with grief when it comes, when no one taught you how to actually deal with it? So this is what I'm going to be speaking about today. So hang on in there with me, and yeah, let's talk about it. And if you have any questions, of course, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and we could always just have a discussion and get through this part of life together. So welcome. I've just written down some questions of questions I asked myself even as I started going through grief. And I should start, of course, from the beginning of why I came into deciding to deal with this topic from the beginning. So earlier this year, I lost my grandma, who was a pillar of our family, because my grandfather died way back 25 years ago, and at that time I was really young, so I didn't really understand when someone passes away, what are you feeling, how do you deal with it, because I was so young. I was just running around kind of trying to live my childhood life. But now, when my grandma has passed on 25 years later, and I'm an adult now, I understand different aspects of life. I have lived, uh, for as long as I have lived, I've known my grandma to be there. So I think coming to experience this type of situation, it has come, just like hitting me like a ton of bricks, because I had previously no experience in my adulthood life of how to deal with such an event. And so this is just this is what fueled me to say, okay, let me do an episode on this situation, so that I can be able to help anyone out there who's dealing with grief, or who has not dealt with grief before and wants to understand how do people deal with grief, what goes on. Because for me, I didn't know, so I was just kind of thrown in into the situation, and I had to kind of, yeah, go straight in and learn how to deal with it myself. So I will start from of course, just the storyline of how I got here. Yeah, just about, I think, is it 2 months ago now, I did find out that my grandmother had passed on, and it was quite devastating to hear the news, because she was more like a mother to me, because she did take care of me in the formative years of my life. And because of this, for me, she was very important. And of course, her growing older and older, you do have it at the back of your mind that one day she will no longer be there. But it doesn't dawn on you that it will happen anytime soon. So for me, I was always hopeful that I will have more time with her, um, because at this age, she was, is it 80? She was 86. Because I know about last year in October, she was quite ill. And I am not in the country where she's living, because I'm in England and she's in Kenya. So for me, it was, when I found out she was sick, I was just hopeful that when I was planning to go and see her in December, I was just praying and hoping that when December comes, I will still be able to see her. So when I learned she was ill in October, I remember giving her a call and just telling her, to just hang on in there. I'm hoping to be there in December, so she should just kind of hold on. and we went in December. We were able to see her. We were able to see that she was actually ill, but of course at the back of your mind you're just like, okay, she's ill, but she'll be okay, you know, she'll get better, she'll be fine. At the back of my mind, that was kind of what was going through my mind at that time. So we saw her in December. It was such a blessing being able to see her, and we could see that she was still not feeling well. But of course, she's just like, okay, she's not well, but she's taking medications. They're taking her to the doctor for her visits, so she should probably be okay. So this was in December. Grateful we got to see her, and I think in around mid-January, I remember having a call with her, and she was sounding so energetic. She was sounding happy, and for me, in my mind, I was like, wow, you know, she's getting better. She's gonna be okay. So I, you know, it gave me hope. I was like, you know, the next time we go to Kenya, we'll definitely be able to see her. So that was, of course, at the back of my mind. And then 2 weeks later, of course, we started getting calls that she was unwell. She was doing a bit more poorly than when we left her, or than when we spoke to her just 2 weeks before that. And for me, of course, because we're Christians and we're prayerful, um, you know, we went to God praying, hoping that she will recover and that she will be okay. And we had just seen her 1 month before. So for me, I was just like, okay, we've just seen her. You know, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. But of course, at the beginning of February, you know, I got the news, and of course our whole family got the news that she had passed on, and it was, yeah, it was devastating. I can't be able to explain the feeling when you get a call that your loved one has passed on. It's, yeah, I can't even explain that feeling. It's one of the worst feelings ever. So for me, being in that situation, and of course being abroad, not being in the same country, I had to start thinking in my mind, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You know, am I just gonna let this pass, or do I want to go and be there to send her off? Of course, receiving the news, I remember I even had an event that day when I received the news, and I was not able to go for the event, of course, because I was so devastated. I couldn't think of anything else. I couldn't think of going to an event. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't think of leaving the house, nothing. And it was a Saturday, so that was I guess a bit better, because most Saturdays you're just relaxing. And it got me thinking, you know, sometimes you receive this news, and maybe you're at work, you receive this news, and you're just, you know, it's like you have to continue with life as normal, and it's almost impossible to do that. So for me, I would tell you, if you're in such a situation and you receive such news, it's okay to feel disoriented. It's okay to, you know, to be confused, you know, because sometimes the world expects us to just go back to normal when you have received such news, you know, when you've been in such a situation. And it's almost impossible, I would say, for you to just continue with life as normal. Of course, for me, that was my experience. I couldn't really do anything. I couldn't think of anything. It was just it was one of the worst feelings, I would say. Yeah, so of course after that, and I will only speak for myself, because our family is big. There's my parents, my aunts, my uncles, and everyone has their own story, and I believe everyone has their own um pain that they experienced. But I think for this episode, I will just speak kind of my experience and what I went through, and how I was kind of dealing with it, so that I can see if I can anyone can resonate with me, you know. And if you're also going through something similar, to know that at the end of the day, um, you're not alone, and other people have also, you know, gone through grief. And if you're in a situation where you're feeling so much pain, and you feel like no one else can understand, you know, just know that, you know, other people, me, I have gone through this situation, I have gone through grief, I have gone through that pain, and I can resonate with you, because yes, it is just as I keep saying, one of the worst painful experiences ever. So of course for me, I was fortunate enough, I was able to, you know, go back to Kenya. And for me, you know, just flying back was also one of the worst flights I have ever had. You know, in my head I kept on thinking, I can't believe this is happening, I can't believe this is happening, I can't believe I'm flying back for a funeral. You know, that's what just kept on going through my head, going through my head. Most of the times when we go back, you know, for holiday or for anything, it's an exciting time, you're happy, you know, you're going on holiday, you're going to see your family, you're going to have this experience. But for me, this one, I was just like, worst worst flight ever, worst experience ever. I can't believe I'm taking a flight to go for my grandma's funeral. You know, when you love someone so much, because I loved my grandmother so much, and I knew that she also loved me and all of us as her family so much. She was such a loving individual, not just to us, but to even the bigger community. So when you lose someone that you love, it really shatters your life and your perspective on different things. So for me, that was my experience, just traveling back, going for the funeral, you know, being able to see my family. Because for me, I feel, because I was in England when I had the news, and of course you tell people around you, like, this has happened, it's so devastating. But I think at the end of the day, I was also feeling like, even till now, even till now, I still feel like everyone else is moving on with their lives. Everyone is just continuing on, when at that time I was like, something so devastating has happened to me, and I feel like everyone else is going on with their life. And for me, I was just like, I could not understand it. And I still yeah, I'm still dealing with it, of course. So I'm like, okay, I can't understand, everyone else is moving on with their lives. I've experienced this extremely painful news, this extremely painful realization that my grandmother is no longer there with us. So how, you know, how is everyone just okay, how is everyone still continuing on with their lives? So for me, I think going back to Kenya, being with my family and grieving together really helped. So I think that's one of the pointers, that if it is within your power, because it is not within everyone's power to go and grieve with their family. So for me, I am grateful that I was able to go and grieve with my family, because you're in a situation where we were just talking about her, reminiscing about her, talking about the good things about her, the you know, how beautiful of a person she was, and also laughing at, you know, times where she would scold us and just you know, be funny about those different things. So for me, it really helped, being with my family, grieving together, and I was able to have that time to be with them. So for me, I believe that really helped. So grieving and being in an environment where we are speaking about her, we are grieving her, you know, we're just in that environment, it really, for me, it really helped me, I would say, to begin with. And if you can, you know, go grieve with other people, go grieve with your family. For me, it really helped. I don't think, I wouldn't say yes, it will help everyone, you know, but if you feel in your heart that if I do this thing, it will help me, of course, also not have any regrets later, like I was not there for the funeral and all that. So if you feel it is something to give you closure, because for me, I felt like I needed to be there to get that closure. I needed to be there to say goodbye to her. I needed to be there. So for me, this is one of the things I was just like, I have to do. I have to do. And it gave me, I can't say it now healed everything. It didn't heal everything, but it definitely helped. So of course, after the burial, I did come back to England. And you for me, when I was going there, I was like, okay, when I go, I'll get this closure and it will help me, and I will no longer be in pain, because of course losing someone that you love leaves you in a lot of pain, and also leaves you feeling like a part of you is no longer with you, like a part of you is gone. And I still feel that even now, because sometimes when I I'm with people and people are, I'm with people anyway. But I think for me, this is, I don't know if time will help, but for now, I'm just like, when I'm with people, I'm like, okay, um, like a part of me is gone. And I remember I was speaking with a friend of mine and I was telling her, I feel like a part of me is gone and I don't feel the same. I don't feel like the same person that I was before my grandmother passed on. And I think there's something that she said that really resonated with me. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. I think I need to remind myself that. She said that version of Karen had her grandmother, but this version of Karen does not have her grandmother. So this is a different version of you. So don't expect to just be the old version of you, because you're no longer that person. You're no longer the person who had your grandmother. So give yourself grace and remember that. And also, I guess for me now, it's to learn, okay, this new version of Karen, who is she? How does she handle things? How does she deal with life? Because it's a different version of me, not the previous one. So I think for me that experience and that realization is what, of course, I have to remind myself now moving forward every day. Okay, no, you're no longer that version, you're this new version. So how do we move forward? How do we deal with this new version of you? And of course, now every single day I'm always talking with my cousins, my family, as much as possible, when because the reminders are always there, and because also it's like so fresh for me, so new. I'm not yet at that point where I'm like healed and I can come and say I'm healed now, because I'm still in that process. Talking with my family now and then, remembering my grandmother, talking about her, talking about how we feel. It's really been helpful. And yeah, I think those are the two things that I've learned so far. One of them is you're no longer the previous version of yourself, because a part of you is missing. For me, a part of me being my grandmother, that part is now missing. And of course, I have to now deal with it moving forward. And then the other second thing I would say, grieving with family and being with family to just help you through that season. For me, it was so important, and even now it is so important as well. So I'm going to just go through a few questions about grief, and then yeah, I can close this because I just wanted to kind of express my grief and how I'm dealing with it and how the process has been, of course, as I said in the beginning, so that I can be able to help others who are dealing with grief or who are going through grief, or you've just discovered, you've lost someone and you want to know how do I deal with it. And in life, there's different types of grief. There's not just one type of grief. It's not just like loss of a loved one physically and you're able to like bury them and see them going in the ground. There's different types of grief. There's loss of friendships, loss of, for example, if you're in a relationship and that relationship ends, that's a different kind of loss. Even when you lose a job, that's a different kind of loss as well. So there's different kinds of losses that we experience in life, but I think for this particular episode I wanted to speak about losing of a loved one and just how to deal with that and how I'm dealing with it. So the first question I'll be answering is, what does grief mean to me? So this is not something that I had thought about before. So coming into the situation of grief, for me it's meant realizing that I have lost someone. In this case, I've lost my grandmother. Realizing, okay, I've lost her, and then going through this pain of loss that is not explainable. It's not some of those things that you can explain. Sometimes when maybe you're in a relationship or when you're in a certain job, you could just say, okay, I'll leave this job and go for another job. Or if you lose a job, you're like, okay, I'll get another job. Or if you're in a certain relationship that is not working, people can tell you, leave that relationship, where you can give an answer to different situations. But I think for me, grief is those things that you can, it's a thing that you really cannot explain, and no one else can feel it for you, no one else can understand it for you other than yourself. So for me, I think, not I think, losing my grandmother and just experiencing that pain of loss of someone who was so dear and someone that I loved so much, and learning or trying to see how do I live without this person, I think for me that has been grief. The pain, the realization that this person is no longer there, and seeing how to move forward without them every day. That replaying in your head every day, every day, every day. So for me, I think that's what grief has been to me, and learn and trying to see how do I manage it. Because sometimes I even found myself where I'm like, stop it, don't cry, or don't feel that way. Even sometimes I tell myself, this is not the time to have these thoughts, this is not the time to feel this way, like we're doing something, we need to finish this thing, so stop. So sometimes I do tell myself that, and but sometimes also just as much as possible allowing myself to feel, allowing myself to experience the pain, and to cry, and to have the conversations with my family. And I think that helped, and is still helping, because sometimes I'll just be like, I want to talk about my grandmother, I want to talk about her, and I talk about her, and that helps. So that's how what I would say grief means to me. So the other question, did I experience emotions I didn't expect? I believe all of the emotions that I experienced during grief, which is also what I'm experiencing now still, you never expect it. You never expect it, even when you have it at the back of your mind that, okay, my grandmother is not so well, and of course the what is it called? The trajectory of life is that it ends in death, even if it's there in your mind. At the end of the day, when it happens, nothing can prepare you. Nothing can prepare you for that feeling, for that pain, um, for that extreme feeling. Nothing, for me, nothing could have prepared me for that pain, or even what I'm feeling now, what I'm experiencing. Nothing could have prepared me for that. So how did grief affect my daily life or identity? I think I've spoken about this, about how, you're seeing people moving on with their lives, but you've lost a part of you. And because of losing a part of you, there's also that identity, or okay, am I now someone different? And I think I've also spoken a bit of that, on how I have to now learn how to be the new me without my grandmother. So I believe, yes, it does affect your identity. You ask yourself a lot of questions. You're like, okay, I want to go back to being me. I want to go back to being me now. I've cried, I've done all the things. I want to go back, but you can never go back, because now you're a new person. You're experiencing life differently. Did I feel pressure to move on? And what did people say that helped or hurt? Did I feel pressure to move on? Yes, I believe you feel pressure to move on, because everyone else is moving on with their lives. Everyone else is just okay. Everyone has gone back to their jobs. Everyone is just going on with life. And you're like, okay, I also need to move on. I also just need to be normal. As I've said, I think before, I to be my old self. And there's that pressure. But I would say, on your side, if you're going through grief, don't succumb to the pressure. Just take the journey slowly. Don't pressure yourself. We all heal differently. We all go through grief differently. So don't put yourself down just because you're handling it in a different way. Experience the grief go through it, and let's see, because we are going through this together, because I'm also experiencing grief. So let's see how we'll feel in a few months, or how we'll feel in a few years after this. But for now, I would say take your time, grieve. Don't really worry about what people are saying or what people are trying to rush you into moving on. No, just take your time. What did people say that helped or hurt? I think, especially because I'm a Christian, there's also always this thing that they always say, it is well. People were coming to me and they're saying it is well. And in my mind, I'm like, no, it is not well. I've just lost my grandma, so it is not well. So I think for me, that statement really hurt me and stung even more, because I was like, I know people are coming from a good place and everything, but I think for me, just being in that situation where someone is like, it is well, I'm like, no, it is not well, so please stop. So that really hurt. And then I think also what really hurt me as well is friends maybe who are not there for me during this time when I felt I was going through something so painful. So maybe not having friends being there for me, that really hurt. And I'm still trying to see how to deal with that, because I know that during such situations, it's times where people go into this cocoon, and they end up losing friendships, they end up losing relationships, just because you feel like no one understands. You're just like, I feel you should have been there for me in this way, I feel you should have been there for me in that way. And you feel like, okay, this person is not there for me in this way. But I think what I would say is communicate. When people ask you, how do you want me to be there for you, communicate how you want people to be there for you, so that you're not blaming them later and you didn't tell them how they should be there for you. So that's what I would say about that. Did my beliefs of faith changing during grief? And how did I make sense of what I was going through? So did my beliefs or faith change during grief? I believe yes. As I mentioned before, I am a Christian, and I believe during this time when I've been going through grief and I've been going through pain, of course I've been questioning God a lot about, how can He allow me to go through this pain. And I believe for me, I was so gracious. I was so blessed that I was able to see my grandmother just 1 month before she died. So I think for me, that was a blessing. But I think at the end, I'm also like, because we prayed and everything, why didn't she get well? Why did she not turn out to be okay? So I think there's a lot of questions, and I'm still trying to deal with it. And when it comes to my relationship with God and my Christianity, so it's something that I'm still dealing with. And since it's still early days, I don't know if I have the answers, or if I'm able to really come forward and say where I am with that. But at the moment, I'm still asking a lot of questions. Of course, I'm feeling disappointed, that she didn't get to live longer. So, or not even that she didn't get to live longer. For me, it was, I think people ask me, maybe are there any regrets or whatever, and I would say, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time with her. So yeah, how do I make sense of what I was going through? How did I make sense of what I was going through? So for me, how did I make sense of what I was going through? In a lot of situations, there's ChatGPT now. I don't know how people were dealing with things before, but for me, I was asking ChatGPT a lot of questions. I think after she died, I was like trying to understand, how did she die? How did it happen? How, how did her body, fail? How, those, I had so many questions about the how, especially when it comes to the scientific side of things and medications and whatnot. And I think just kind of being able to understand, okay, so this is what happened, you know, they gave her this drug and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened. And for me, I was just kind of trying to make sense of everything. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean she's dead? You know, what do you mean? So for me, with that, asking a lot of questions, for me, I was just trying to make sense of it, to be able to give an answer really to myself, to be like, okay, so this is why, this is what happened, this is how we came to this situation. So I would say for me, it was asking a lot of questions, asking a lot of questions. And I'm that person who asks a lot of questions anyway, but I think for me, trying to make sense of it was just asking as many questions, which I'm still asking till now. I wouldn't say that I'm done. And what helped me cope or begin healing, and what does healing actually look like? So how does healing actually look like? I'm not there yet because I'm still in the process. So I would say that I'm still in the process of healing. And what is helping me through, I think it's talking a lot about it and not trying to kind of push it down. So talking about, you know, the situation and my grandmother a lot, so that has really helped. And for me, like I said before, going for her burial, for me, I felt like that will help me with some kind of closure and being able to tell her goodbye. And also, yeah, just having those constant conversations with my family, being around my family, for me, that really helped. So what I would advise for you is, if you feel you need to do something to help you with your healing journey, do it. Of course, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, but something that will bring you closure, something that will help with your healing. Don't let people kind of tell you not to do it. You know, like someone might tell you, don't talk about the person too much, or don't deal with in this thing too much. But if it's something that you need to do, you know, have the conversations and everything, just don't give up. Don't and also don't engage in anything that is self-destructive. I should put that as a disclaimer. But if it's something constructive that will bring you healing, I would say just do it, and don't suppress anything inside, because then one day it will burst out. So have as many conversations as you can. And yeah, that's what I would say about that. What do grieving people really need from others? So what do grieving people, I would say it's different for different people. So ask. If you're someone who wants to be there for someone who is grieving, ask them, you know, how can I be there for you? How do you want me to show up for you in this season? I think I've said that before. And I think, and also just showing up for them. Even if they say, don't talk to me, you know, leave me alone. Just show up for them, because, you know, people remember, like when you showed up for them, especially during really these painful moments. So yeah, so I would say ask them, and also just show up for them. If it's your friend, if it's your of course, if it's family, you're going through it together. Also, if it's family, show up for your family, be there to grieve with them, I would say, if you're able to, because not everyone is able to, I would say. But if it's within your power and you're healthy, you're okay, and you can be able to go, yeah, do it. What should people avoid saying? I think I've already said this before. When people tell me it is well, it was throwing me off the roof. I was about to go crazy if one more person told me it is well. Because it is not well. Yeah, just avoid saying things that are mechanical, that things that you're expected to say. But you know, like when you come and tell me, because I'm a very logical person, if you come and tell me it is well, and I'm like, with my logical brain, is it? Is it well? It is not. So yes, I would just say, avoid saying mechanical things, and just say things from your heart. Say things that, or even don't say anything. Just go there, be with the person, just have random conversations if possible. Speak about the loved one during that time, and ask, I think I've said this before, how can I be there for you? What would I say to someone grieving right now? So what I would say to someone grieving right now is, um, take heart. Take heart during this time. Allow people to be there for you, those who are offering to be there for you. Tell people what you're going through. Don't die with it alone. Don't keep quiet about it. Tell people around you. Tell your friends. Tell your colleagues. Tell your boss, so that they all know what you're going through and they're able to understand. Because if you don't tell people, then they're not able to understand. They're not able to understand. Okay, why you acting a certain way? Why do you look gloomy? Why do you look sad? They're not able to do that. So tell people about what you're going through when it happens, and it gives you that room to grieve and that ability to grieve when you're in that situation. So yeah, tell people. What has grief taught me? This being my last question. What has grief taught me? Grief has taught me that, sometimes we, especially when you've not experienced grief before, like of a close loved one, that sometimes you see people, and even you watch it on TV, you watch when people are going through funerals, and you're like, okay, that's so much drama in a funeral, or okay, that seems sad. But when you're actually going through it yourself, well, yeah, it's one of the worst things ever. So for me, I would say what grief has taught me is that do not underestimate the pain that people go through when they lose their loved ones. Just being my first real adult life experience, don't underestimate that grief, because it is painful. It is so bad. So don't underestimate the pain that people are feeling, or just the grueling pain that someone is in when they lose their loved one, because it is horrible. It is bad. So when you see someone has lost a loved one and is grieving, just be there for them if you can, and just know that the pain that they're going through, you can never understand it. So I believe it just made me understand other people who have also gone through grief, because I did not fully understand it before, I would say. So that's one of the things that I have learned. And then the other thing that I've learned is, during grief, or when you lose a loved one, is when you're able to know, I guess, who are your real friends as well, and who is the real is who are the real people in your life at that point. Because you have some people who show up and some people who don't show up, and it kind of opens up your eyes to that. So I would say, I would say those two things for now. One of it is, do not underestimate the pain that people go through when they lose loved ones. The second one is, you learn who are the real people in your life, I guess, by who shows up and who doesn't. And it's not who shows up for I am, I'm living in England and I'm going for the funeral in Kenya and I want people to come. Not those unrealistic expectations. No, it could be in terms of calling. It could be in terms of them checking up on you to see if you're okay. Just those small things, they matter when it comes to grief. So where am I now when it comes to my grief journey? I'm just 2 months in, and I'm still dealing with the waves. I do have some happy days, and then I have some extremely sad days where I feel like I couldn't possibly be able to deal with this. but I encourage myself and I keep on moving. So I would say, if you're going through grief, take it one day at a time. You shouldn't have unrealistic expectations of, like you will heal in one day, and you'll be fine. It's a process. It takes time. So give yourself grace. Give yourself, and I'm telling this to myself as well, give yourself the ability to grieve. When that, wave of pain comes in, allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to just feel the pain, and you will have some good days and you will have some bad days, but it's all a journey, it's all an experience, because those who we loved and who had such big impacts in our lives, we're not really able to forget them in a split second, but holding those memories in our hearts is what matters, I would say. If there's something you can do, if you can maybe hang a picture to always remember them, that's what I'm planning to do. Just have a picture to always remind me of her, knowing that she had such a big impact in my life. She took care of me when I was young. She loved me. She loved all of us actually as her grandchildren, unconditionally, and she was like a real grandmother. She was really there. So, and knowing that she loved me and I loved her, because she always used to call me, especially in the last year, and then she used to be like, my love, and she used to call most of the cousins my love. So I believe just having the good memories in our hearts and also having something to be able to remember her with, that's what matters. So I think I will end this here. So if you have any pointers of grief and dealing with grief, feel free to leave it in the comments. And yeah, that's it for today.